Day 201 doesn't exist. Wow, what a beginning. Waiting a whole year just for the first day file to not exist. How wonderful. But thankfully, day 202 does exist, and I can fill you in on what I'm doing. But first, let's dig some sand. On day 214, I returned home, and now I can explain my plan throughout days 215 and 216. Remember how I built my home on a mountain overlooking the ocean? Well, I'm gonna drain that ocean. You'll see later. Firstly, I outlined the area I'm going to drain, a very large circle, and then I covered the shoreline in gravel in a feeble attempt to separate what was the shore from the sand. This is not going to work later. Now, what am I going to do with all that sand I just mined? Well, I'm going to use it to fill in the water, of course. Now, previously I would have cut to a very long time-wasting montage, but to save viewer retention and my sanity, let's do this instead. Now we have filled in one section of the sand, and I'm all out of sand. So, on day 233, I flew back out to my sand pit to dig some more. Tired of the sand and how coarse and rough it is and how it gets everywhere, I flew back home, and on day 238, I began digging up more sand by using torches. This part of draining the hole is the least mentally draining by far, because I get to watch my Xbox slowly die from having to calculate hundreds of blocks of sand fall every few seconds for hours on end. And on day 245, I cleared out the section, and little woe me had no clue what on earth I had just gotten myself into. The next day, I realized I needed a lot more sand. So, first I needed more shovels, which meant more enchantments and a lot more efficiency 5, so I flew out to the only other librarian I knew of that spawned naturally in this world. And when I mean the only other, I really do mean the only other. Here, I traded until I got efficiency 5. Very good. On day 247, I flew out for a bit to a new sand pit and began digging. Again. On day 256, I decided to return home and began putting the sand into a collection of chests at the shulkers. And the next day I found yet another pit to dig out, and so I did. On day 226, I returned home and began placing sand again. Here we go. On day 373, I flew out to the village again in order to use the other villager to get mending. Anyways, back to digging. And finally, on day 441, it was complete. Wow, what a great use of 241 days of footage. Anyways, now it's the stuff I probably can show. On day 442, I constructed a giant furnace. I wanted to build the walls of my pit with glass, so I'd need a lot of glass. Now, I had the sand to do it, but for obvious reasons. But I lacked the fuel. Sure, I could use lava, but I didn't have enough iron, so either way, I was going to need to go mining. So, I decided to go for some good old anthracite, otherwise known as coal. So, I went mining on day 443. On day 444, I died, and in a fit of rage due to endless creeper explosions, switched the game up to peaceful. This thankfully marked the only time this happened. Hopefully. And over the next 2 days, I had a very peaceful mining trip. On day 446, I returned home and screwed up my big smelter and left my Xbox running for a couple of days. On day 454, my glass was done and I began placing it. Day 458 came and I was done and began placing the stone pillars. These will be made bigger and cooler later, but for now I didn't have enough stone. Then I began removing the sand walls throughout day 461. On day 463, I'm not exactly sure what I did. I think I was moving sand indoors. But on day 464, I began laying down the grass in my now empty trench. I quickly ran out of dirt. What a surprise. I realized quickly I'd have to dig a lot more. You can really tell how much thought I put into this project when I was making it. I put it off, and on day 465 I removed the last of the gravel in the pit. On day 466 I flew out to a random field and began digging real fast. However, I quickly ran into an issue. My shovel was breaking, and I didn't have any more good ones. By that, I needed efficiency 5 unbreaking 3. Now, you might remember earlier when I gave a villager mending, I was under the mindset that I had given him efficiency and unbreaking, and upon further exploration off camera, I had not. So now, I'm trying to find a zombie librarian villager to cure. During the next day, I'd begin digging again, and at night, I'd hunt. This went on for 2 days before giving up and trying my last resort. Returned to the village on day 471, I initiated my plan. convert the librarian into a zombie villager, and then cure him. Per my research, this would reset their trades. However, there was an issue. Sometimes, after converting back into villagers, they'd turn into cartographers. So this was no good, because cartographers sell maps, not books. But after loads of saving and quitting, I got it on day 472 and flew back home. I then converted them all to good shovels and resumed dig. On day 476, I flew back home and decided to try something new. What if I could get more dirt underground? Surely the big clusters of dirt underground would provide a lot more dirt while giving me ores at the same time. I was right, because I did get dirt as well as loads of ores from a 4-day trip. I then returned to covering the surface in dirt, however yet again, I didn't have enough. So on 488, I flew back to my old pit to try digging again. However, both got distracted by the cows, and was quickly being surrounded by lakes, which was no bueno. So instead, mining time, part 2. On day 494, I returned to the surface absolutely caked in dirt, diamonds, and reeking of black lung. And on day 497, I finished the grass. Now for the lines. I wanted to build 3 stripes, almost like scars, of terrain ripping across my dugout. So on day 498, I began construction of the first one, with a little tunnel across it because it looked cool. Didn't have enough stone, so on day 500, I made some more stone. After finishing the first one, I made more stone, and began work on the second one. But before I could finish it, I needed dirt. I think that'll suffice. On day 518, I decided to go back to the nether to get some quartz. I had not been there in a while. It can't be that bad. On day 520, I emerged from hell, and on 521, I tried my hand at getting good enchants. This went on for a bit before getting something I liked and upgrading my almost OP sword from a kitchen knife to a butcher's knife. Big progress. I then decided to upgrade the towers like promised and give them a bit more bulk. I even outlined an entrance to the build at a later point on day 522. But then, as expected, I ran out of stone and had to smelt more. I then continued building, and on day 527, what do you think I was doing? I was smelting stone. It's always stone. Never ends. I finally finished the towers on day 530, and this whole mess is finally coming to a close. On days 531 and 532, I began placing nature around the den, and I spent the last 3 days working on something special. This is day 535, the end. Looking upon the valley, I took it all in. All this time, and now it's perfect. Well, almost perfect, but I want to save that for another time. Instead, let me show you something I was working on. This. It's the Prettyinator, patent pending. When I flick the switch, the Prettyinator, patent pending, will make the world absolutely gorgeous. So let's do it. Well, that is indeed pretty. And that's the end. Hopefully, just maybe, you got a kick out of watching me turn an ocean into a valley that's half complete, and then make everything beautiful. So, I guess I made up for it. So, if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm not sure when I'll make a part 4. Maybe it'll be next year, maybe never, because I'm absolutely burnt out on Minecraft. But, anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.